Hi guys, welcome back to Hoarder's Heart. This episode is going to be a Halloween themed episode because we're talking about how minimalism could be very scary to someone with hoarding disorder. If you are new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by and checking me out. I'm a hoarder, but a recovering one at that. And normally I show you my messes and I tell you my mental struggles. And we declutter my hoarded house in small sections at a time so that I can keep my anxiety calm and make decluttering a positive experience. Now, this episode, we're going to be a little cheeky. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to be talking about how minimalism in the beginning of my recovery of healing in my hoarding disorder was terrifying to me. It was scary. And over time, I realized that, well, maybe it's not that scary. And I can tell both ends of a hoarder and a minimalist and see how they can come together. And we're going to be doing that while I decorate for Halloween and fall because I am very behind in decorating this year. So without further ado, let's get started. Now this weekend, we went to the pumpkin patch to pick out pumpkins. And many people, when they see thousands of pumpkins at the farmer's market, think that all these pumpkins look beautiful, all clustered together. It represents abundance, prosperity, bountiful. They had a great year so that they can sell all these beautiful pumpkins together. And I took those very same emotions that I felt when seeing all the beautiful pumpkins and apply it to my hoarded treasures at my house, and I stored everything away because it made me feel safe and secure, and that feeling of protection and happiness and potential creations of all of this beautiful stuff kept my anxiety, my PTSD very, very calm. So now I hope you understand the mentality a little better of why that hoarder needs that tight grip to hold on to so much stuff. Because honestly, they're trying to avoid a panic attack or falling into a deep depression. And just like a horrific drought where there is no water and the crops don't grow that season and it's barren and empty and scarcity and emptiness, that's what minimalism felt to me. Even though now I can see that it's beautiful, but when I first started this journey, it looked empty. It looked alone. It looked like solitary confinement within my heart. And when I felt alone and isolated, that's when my anxiety and my PTSD haunted my mind and that pain took over my body. So now you see why hoarding is basically a coping mechanism to avoid feeling those painful feelings. And before I started my recovering my hoarding disorder, minimalism scared me to my core. You could see why I was terrified of it. I didn't understand it because I thought it meant I had to throw everything I owned out. And I was only supposed to keep things that sparked joy. Well, how can I get rid of stuff when everything to me sparks joy? Everything is striking an emotion of some sort. And now you want me to empty it all out in one shot? Are you crazy? But now I know that's not what minimalism is. They're not going to ask you to throw everything out of your house in one shot, and that decluttering is a process, and that each person is created differently so that they go at their own pace with what feels right in their heart. My second fear of minimalism was that a minimalist house was empty and white and sterile. And many of you know that I have a very creative heart who loves to craft and draw and paint. It is an expression of my soul, the freedom to create something new from mass amount of things that I hoarded was an expression of who I was. And now you want me to take all my beautiful creations that I spent so much time and energy and love and imagination and just bag it all up and take it to the curb and let it go to a landfill? Are you crazy? I once read that Andy Warhol was a hoarder himself, and I so could resonate with that because the more stuff a hoarder had, the more infinite possibilities there was to create. And to have those infinite possibilities created such a freedom and inspiration to create more. But I now realize that that is not what minimalism is. It is not to stop you from being creative. If anything, it wants you to curate the pieces that you love so that you can enjoy all that energy and love that you put into it, and that their houses are not completely empty. If anything, the goal is to be clutter-free so that they can feel more peace and tranquility to be more creative, because everything has a home, everything has a place. And when those creative juices start rolling, you know where the stuff is, instead of taking 1 or 2 hours searching to find where on earth did you put that craft bin at. My third fear of minimalism was that minimalism was about deprivation. I had to live without. I had to sacrifice and let everything go. Circling back to the pumpkins, that I wasn't allowed to have all that abundance, right? I wasn't allowed to feel that security. But what I didn't realize back then was that hoarding disorder stems from a lack mentality, a fear of poverty, a fear of going without. And that's why that need to hoard everything almost feels like I'm providing for the family. This is how I can afford happiness because I squirreled it away in the basement. We don't need to buy it anymore. I don't have to worry about spending money. We can save money. And it took years to reprogram my brain to not live in that fear anymore, to know that no matter what, whether I hoard this or give it away, I am abundant. God will provide for my family no matter what situation that we're in. And once I learned that, I also realized that minimalism is not deprivation. A matter of fact, minimalism is abundance to them because it's aligned with their core values, and it frees up time and money from buying or saving so much stuff so that they can spend that precious time with their family and with their friends. And it's not so different from the things that I desire within my heart too. My fourth fear of minimalism is tied to the third fear, and that is you cannot spend any money, and that I couldn't buy anything new for myself, my children. And when I mean new, I also mean things from consignment shops, because to me, that is also new. I thought I had to wear the same 5 outfits every single day. There's no creativity. There's no fun in it. Just wear your 5 outfits in your capsule wardrobe and you're good to go. Less decisions? Sweet. You know exactly what you're wearing the next day. And little did I realize that I pretty much already wear the same 10 outfits every season, but I digress because my creative soul needs so many multiple choices so that I have infinite outfit choices to put together on a given day. Well, that's what I thought anyway. And as I read more about minimalism, I realized that that too was false. They do spend money, but they spend money with intention. That way, they're not caught up in the impulse shopping, which we all can pump the brakes on. And if their blender happens to break, they're not going to resort back to hand beating their ice to have crushed ice for their smoothies. No. they will buy a new blender because they have plenty of money saved away because they did not impulse shop all the miscellaneous junk that adds up. And yes, I used to think that way, that they didn't even buy new things if the old thing broke too. My fifth fear of minimalism was that I had to live in a tiny house. I thought most minimalists lived in those tiny homes, which is very cool to watch. But when they're saying it's 200 square feet, I know from working in a storage facility that that is a 10 by 20 locker. And though it's plenty of space to store your stuff when you're moving, as far as living in it, with a kitchen and a bedroom and a bathroom, that is tiny, especially when you have a family of 4 and more. Where are you supposed to move around? I felt like you would be on top of yourself, and I do surprisingly get claustrophobic, even though I live amongst a bunch of stuff. If the walls are very small, I would feel claustrophobic. And where would you entertain people? You would have to live in a place like California that has this beautiful weather all the time so that you could enjoy the outside space to have people over. This was how my mind cycled over and over. And then I realized that that too was a false fear. In minimalism, you don't need to live in a tiny house to be a part of the minimalistic tribe. No. It is a preference. So if you prefer to live in the smaller house, that is a choice that is made what is best for your family and you. And if you decide that you want a bigger home, that is okay too. The key is that don't fill it back up with clutter, which can be very tempting to the hoarder indeed. And my last fear that I had of minimalism was that I had to follow strict minimalistic rules to be considered part of the minimalist club. Too much stuff in the house, you're off the team, goodbye. And you can also see how for a creative soul, that could be scary because we don't like to follow rules. We like to be free to fly and create our own ways. And I quickly learned that that too was completely wrong. And the truth is, there are no rules to minimalism. If they had a rule, it's probably that you decide what minimalism looks like for you and your family, and then you just create a life that supports that vision. So in honesty, it's still pure creativity to live a life that feels right within your soul. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. This video was meant to be fun and festive and a way to connect minimalism with hoarding. Because honestly, minimalism isn't that scary at all.